The House Chairperson.
There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. For the honorable members, please take up your allocated seats so that we can proceed with the session for this afternoon. Honourable members, I've been informed that the Minister of Public Service and Administration and the Minister in the Presidency are not available to answer questions today. The Ministers have requested that their questions stand over in terms of Rules 144, Sub-Rule 1, Paragraph A, and 144, Sub-Rule 2. The questions will therefore stand over, and these questions will be scheduled in consultation with the Program Committee. The first item, yes, Honourable Member, the Honourable Michaelakis.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, I accept the reasons that you gave. I do just want to point out that quite a great number of questions on the order paper today are standing over, and I would just like to request that that be taken up with the Leader of Government Business, that this doesn't become a tendency. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Reddy.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. The MK Party wants to express our disappointment at the fact that these ministers are not here to answer important questions. You know, the only way that we can hold the executive accountable is during this question session. And when they choose not to come here, with complete disregard for this House, I think it's a matter that needs to be taken up a little bit more seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable members, may I indicate that I had a discussion with the Honourable Speaker just before this session. And indeed, the Speaker is treating the matter with the necessary seriousness and is taking up the matter with the Leader of Government Business. In response to the Honourable Michaelakis, in terms of the number of questions that may potentially stand over today, that is a matter that we are cognizant of, and it will be discussed, and the Programming Committee will be advised accordingly. It is indeed important for members of the Executive to honour question days, because it is one of those important mechanisms to hold the Executive accountable. Honourable Swart.
Honourable Chair, I rise on Rule 92, but I would like to, and I'm sure the House is fully aware that the Minister of Public Service was here yesterday, but he has been hospitalised. Now, I'm not condoning them not being, or the Executive not being in Parliament, but let us also be aware that emergencies do happen. The Deputy Minister has an emergency as well. So we appreciate that, and we need to also trust that the Minister will recover, having been in hospital. So let us also bear that in mind as well. We received that message beforehand. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Honourable members, I now want to proceed with the question session, and the rules indeed, Honourable Swart, make provision for instances like this. The first item on today's, the MK, do you want another intervention?
Thank you, Chair. I think it's not good enough all the time that when these excuses are coming up here in the House, I must make it very, very clear that some of the ministers, not all of them, in particular from that side, they are undermining this House. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, honourable members. As I've indicated, the matter is being treated with the necessary seriousness by the Speaker. The first item on today's order paper is questions addressed to ministers in Cluster 3 governance. There are 4 supplementary questions on each question. Parties have given an indication of which questions their members wish to pose a supplementary question. Adequate notice was given to parties for this purpose. This was done to facilitate participation of members who are, and the guide must be amended here. This was done to facilitate the participation of members who are going to take following up questions. The members who will pose supplementary questions will be recognized by the presiding officer. In allocating opportunities for supplementary questions, the principle of fairness, amongst others, have been applied. The first question has been asked. Let me just complete this. I'll come now to you, honourable member. The first question has been asked by the Honourable Matuwane to the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. Before I put the question, I recognise the honourable member at the back.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I was actually had my hand up before you started reading, but because I didn't want to interfere in your reading. Honourable Chair, I was just wondering, it's very hot outside, and ever since we've joined these sittings, the water that we get is very hot. Is there no way we can get cool or cold water in this? I mean, really, we know for weeks beforehand that we're having these meetings, and really, we don't even drink this water. A lot of it goes wasted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, Honourable Chair.
It's noted, honourable member.
Thank you.
It's a fair request, and the matter will be attended to.
Thank you, sir.
Honourable member.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. I'm actually rising on the part 2 of questions for oral reply. The section 138. It says here on section 138(4), if a minister and his or her deputy minister are absent on the day when questions relating to the relevant ministry are to be answered, the minister may authorize another cabinet member to reply to a questions directed at that minister, provided that the cabinet member so authorized is able to respond competently to any permissible supplementary questions that may be asked. So I think the fact that the ministers are absent should not be an excuse for them not to take this august house seriously and respond to the oral questions. So, you know, at some point, I think we need to hold them accountable. This is the house that we here to hold ministers accountable for reply. Thank you so much, Chair.
Yes, no, you're reading the rule correctly, honourable member, and indeed you indicate may. It may, not must. But may I be cognizant of the input that you're making and say that in this instance, an acting minister was not, or another minister was not requested to fulfill that obligation due to certain instances, as the Honourable Swart has also referred to, where a minister has fallen ill and the other one indeed have a bereavement that came up. So no arrangement to that effect has been made. The Honourable Ntlangwini.
Thank you very much, House Chair. We send our condolences to the Deputy Minister and the family members. But nevertheless, House Chair, it is actually very irresponsible for the Minister to have not used that rule to at least pay respect to the work that members of Parliament are doing. Because we planned the program of Parliament long in advance as Parliament for the convenience of members of Parliament and convenience for cabinet ministers. And this not appointing and using that rule to at least show respect for members' questions, it's really irresponsible. And I'm pleading with you, House Chair, that in this 7th Parliament, let us not take the rules for granted for one and take this questioning sessions all the time for granted, because it has become just some form of just a compliance process for ministers and not actually adhering to the work of parliament, and that is really disappointing. So because members of parliament go to length preparing, and I'm preparing this, repeating this yet again, they go to length preparing these questions from their constituencies, and yet for a minister to not even, at least in his absence, appoint a cabinet minister on his behalf to answer to those questions that members are asking. It has become really a strain in our work, and it's irresponsible for ministers to behave like this. Thank you.
Thank you, honourable members. I do indeed take note of these important inputs you're making, and it will be conveyed by the Speaker to the Leader of Government Business. The question asked by the Honourable Matuwane is as follows. The question is about how the ministerial disagreements on Basic Education Law Amendment Act, the National Health Insurance Act, and the Expropriation Act impact the minister's functions to plan, monitor, and evaluate departments, and what are the reputational risks posed by the intra-government disagreements within the GNU. I now recognize the Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. The disagreements about these acts do not impact on the functions of DPME. The DPME continue to effectively execute its mandate of planning, monitoring, and evaluation, guided by the National Development Plan 2030 and the Medium-Term Development Plan 2024-2029, which was approved by Cabinet in February 2025. The statement of intent of the 2024 Government of National Unity stipulates that the parties to the GNU shall also establish dispute resolution or deadlock breaking mechanisms in instances where sufficient consensus is not reached. Parties should raise disputes within mechanisms created for these purposes. Therefore, no major governance issues or reputational risks, because a mechanism has been established to deal with those challenges. The period of time taken to resolve any deadlock that may arise depends on the complexity of the matter at hand. Thank you, Chairperson.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Matuwane.
Ndibulele sihlalo ndisibulisele kwindlu ngokubanzi. Given that, Deputy Minister, given that the Government of National Unity has adopted a medium-term development plan, the MTDP, which together with the budget are implementation tools of the National Development Plan, what are the prospects of success in the implementation if other parties in the GNU don't support the budget, which is meant to fund the GNU's MTDP in the short to the medium term? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Matiwan, for the follow-up. What we believe in the GNU, first and foremost, is that we do acknowledge that these are parties, of course, at times with different orientation or ideologically, diametrically opposed to each other, but however, we have found a mechanism, a formula to work together. We are now almost a year in the era of GNU, and the ANC, as one of the oldest party, credited also about its ability to facilitate and deal with the questions at hand. We believe even if they are newly established parties, even others at the stage of formulating policies, but we believe that there is an understanding and a common understanding that we have cultivated that both need to work for the interest of our country. And we believe that the budget issues are issues that will take a long time, but reflect the contradictions that existed at a given time and we are confident that they will be resolved. Thank you, Chair.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable M.S. Piri.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Thank you very much to yourself as well, Deputy Minister. And we have noted that government have concluded the medium-term development plan. But however, we need to hear from yourselves, what are the practical mechanisms led to the required consensus to effectively conclude the MTDP, which provides a policy implementation framework?
Thank you very much, Honorable Ngweba. I think what the government first and foremost utilizes, we draw strongly from the democratic practices of elected government. And we have considered various tools in order to deal with this matter. Among others, look into commitments made by various parties, but also create a number of platforms for instance, successive cabinet meetings, Mahotla, focus on the issues, crucial issues, and all parties were allowed to express even areas of difference until appropriate consensus or sufficient consensus was cultivated to reach a common understanding. So we are confident that MTDP is not just a document, but it's an important plan that galvanizes the rest of society and various sectors in our society that the government will have to implement. And it will be easily monitored by our people to the extent that we deepen understanding on the commitments made by the MTDP framework for 5-year period. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honorable members, the third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable D. Bergman.
Thank you very much. Deputy Minister, it seems that in the GNU that some ministers take instruction from the President and others are on the same WhatsApp group as Premier Lesoufi et al. I would submit that the real disconnect is planning, monitoring and evaluation from municipalities through provinces and aligning it to the national plans. What interventions does the Deputy Minister have in place to ensure that destructive behavior, such as antagonistic street renaming, instead of using funds for an insolvent city power, is assured to protect the citizens from their own government? Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Honorable Bergman, you are correct that all in the country, the Republic of South Africa, take cue from what the President says. When the President speaks, reflect on position and the state of the nation of the country. First and foremost, the State of the Nation address of the President provides leadership to not only government, but to various sectors in our society. And also various addresses that the President makes on particular issues, addressed in a forum. It could be European Union, it could be at the G20. The President transmits policy positions which all of us need to align to. And the Premier that you mentioned is part of a democratic process in the country and understand the democratic tenets of our Constitution. He is one of the foremost, those that abide by the leadership that the President provides. The Gauteng province is not isolated from the country. I've never had any extreme populist sentiments expressed by Premier Lesoufi, but we have had such populist sentiments from other quarters. But we will continue to prevail to ensure that there's one plan in the country.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable T.L. Montana.
Thanks, House Chair. The Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation has potentially the power to change how government works, how SOEs and public entities work, and most importantly, can have a positive impact on the lives of citizens. However, it would seem that the DPME does not fully appreciate its role within and across the system of government, focusing more on its energies on process issues rather than using data to change policy, to ensure better targeting, and ensures that we focus on real outcomes. Now, when we look at the the work done on the evaluation, we see that government is failing in almost all strategic programs, including land reform, food security, and nutrition. I want to ask the minister or deputy minister, what alternative strategies have they put in place to ensure that this time around, government delivers on its strategic programs affecting the people as a whole?
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Montana. We do appreciate as a department that first and foremost, we need to look into the reorganization of the department and the capacity of the department to discharge its very important responsibility with regard to not only playing advocacy, but ensuring that the planning, monitoring, and evaluation is entrenched, anchored around the National Development Plan 2030 and the MTDP. It is this MTDP that the department is going to put prominently on the agenda and ensure that across government and across spheres of government, in fact, this program is understood, also through various models of DDM, so that we ensure that not only through a process, but through intergovernmental forums, we are able to can emphasize these crucial areas of work. We will, in fact, be dealing with these matters without fail. Among other issues, we are interested as DPME on the governance of the state-owned institution to the extent that they stabilize and they perform utmost to their capability. We know that both local and global conditions will improve for the better, even attracting investment. Yesterday, there were statements made here that marked improvement of state-owned enterprises. It is not for their own sake, but it is through constant intervention measures by various departments, ministers, in intervening in those issues that are crucial to our development trajectory as a country. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honorable members, question number 260 has been asked by the Honorable D.R. Direko to the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. The question is about progress that has been made in reducing the number of municipalities categorized as dysfunctional and the urgent plans in place to improve the remaining municipalities to ensure service delivery in local government. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. In responding to the question by Honourable Direko, indeed, a great progress has been made in reducing the number of dysfunctional or distressed municipalities. In terms of the state of local government, in 2021-22, it was 66 municipalities. This number has dropped to 35 municipalities. At a cabinet level, the interministerial committee, composed of 15 ministers, was formed, and it has developed and is implementing the municipal performance turnaround plan, and it is focusing at most on the 35 municipalities, but we also target the 10 worst performing municipalities in South Africa. And our focus is categorized into short-term goal, medium-term goal, and long-term goal, with an intention of eliminating any municipality falling under the category of being dysfunctional. This is a collaborative work with the National Treasury, with MISA, and other sectors of government, including provincial, COGTA, and provincial treasuries. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Direko.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honourable Minister. Noting the plans that the department has to improve the functionality of municipalities, in the meantime, while these plans are being implemented, what concrete measures are in place to ensure that service delivery in terms of water and energy are resolved? And is there any legislative intervention that the department is developing to eliminate the current challenges that we are having in our municipalities? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Direko. Indeed, COGTAM is implementing a number of interventions in collaboration with Department of Water and Sanitation, especially under MIG. COGTAM is working together with a number of municipalities under Schedule 5B, where COGTAM through MISA is an implementing agent on capital projects in terms of water and sanitation, because MISA has sufficient capacity in terms of personnel, engineers, and all necessary people to ensure that the money that is allocated to municipalities does not go back to Treasury, because a municipality, because of its limitations, could not utilize the allocation. And on that score, we are encouraging the municipalities to put aside 10% of the allocation to ensure that that money is allocated on the refurbishment of the infrastructure. There is a number of legislation that are in the process in order to facilitate the intervention to be functional between COGTAM and municipalities, especially those who have limitations in capacities.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable NZ Buthelezi.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. I will take it on behalf of all NZ Buthelezi. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Minister, what sustainable measures has your department put in place to ensure that dysfunctional municipality or municipality place under administration receive the necessary assistance that will enable them not to repeat previous mistake of mismanagement? I thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Stole, on behalf of Honorable Buthelezi. COGTAM has identified all the municipalities under intervention, and we have made an assessment because there are municipalities who have been under intervention for more than 10 years. We have identified the people in terms of capacity who are in these municipalities, as well as the recommendation they make, whether are they being followed or not, because some of the municipalities stay under intervention because whatever the ministerial representative is recommending is not followed. At the same time, as we are observing them and looking at the recommendations made by ministerial representatives, we are intervening to support them, as I've indicated, on infrastructure through MISA. And we have a pool of experts, former municipal managers, CFO, whom we deploy to these municipalities to give support. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Swart.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. The ACDP is deeply concerned about the dysfunctional state of many municipalities which are at the forefront of service delivery. Now, one of the measures to assist them who owe debt to ESCOM is the Municipal Debt Relief Program, which allows National Treasury to write off debt under certain conditions. Regrettably, many of the 71 municipalities have failed to meet the conditions, with 47 consistently defaulting and who have already accumulated substantial arrears after receiving support from province and national government. This the ACDP finds deeply concerning. What steps, Honourable Minister, will you and your department be taken to avoid municipalities from being removed from this debt relief program, which would make a bad situation even worse? I thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. We are engaged in a discussion with National Treasury to assist the municipalities under debt relief program, especially those who owe ESCOM and are unable to pay for ESCOM. As the year has started, we are going to introduce a new process which is being developed between the two departments, National Treasury and COGTA, where National Treasury will be assisting these municipalities together with ESCOM, and the process will eventually lead to the write-off of the debt, but ensure once a written off has been done, a municipality must not fall back to the original position. There will be sufficient capacity built in terms of indigent register must be in place so that it is known who are the relevant people who are due to pay for the services from ESCOM as well as including water boards. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Slazo Webster.
Thank you very much, Chair. Minister, the Mfuleni local municipality is one of the municipalities that have been included in the district development model, and it's also been placed under Section 139 intervention, but the residents of that area are still suffering from waste management issues, they're still suffering from poor water and sanitation, infrastructure decay. So it would be really important for us to know, first of all, what are the timelines that have been set for the residents to start seeing improvement, i.e., when will the Section 139 be lifted? What are the timelines for its lifting? And also, what are the measurable interventions that the department is implementing to make sure that you get to that point where the Section 139 can be lifted?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. The House can confirm Mfuleni municipality is no longer in a state of failing to pay the employees. This is due to a program we are working together, Department of Water and Sanitation, National Treasury, and Department of Energy and Electricity, where a variety of vehicles have been introduced to assist Mfuleni municipality, one, to exit the intervention, but also to be able to cope with the debt in relation to water board as well as ESCOM, so that there is no challenge again where ESCOM attach the account of Mfuleni municipality. In a very short period, we will give timelines once we are satisfied, together with the provincial executive, that the intervention is no longer necessary at Mfuleni municipality.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Reddy.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. I rise in terms of Rule of Order 92 and specifically Rule 91, in terms of which I request your permission to get an explanation from the Minister, because I would not want incorrect facts recorded into the record. The Minister stated, Speaker.
No, Honourable Member, I haven't given permission to you.
I await your permission, sir.
A member may, with prior consent of the presiding officer. I haven't given prior consent to you, so we proceed to the next question. Question number 262 has been asked by the Honourable Mgweba to the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. The question is about the achievements of the department since it was established and its relevance to the developmental state towards the realization of the National Development Plan Vision 2030. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. The department has been the custodian of the National Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation System since its establishment. We keep on improving the system with the latest focus being development of medium-term development plan. We have also asked the team to place more emphasis on the interface between the district development model, National Special Development Framework, and the medium-term development plan. It is important to underscore that spatial transformation should be a yardstick through which measures progress in transformation journey that started in 1994, 30 years ago. The department is relevant for ensuring an integrated approach to planning, monitoring, and evaluation. Without any institution like this, government departments will function in an uncoordinated way, leading to overlaps and turf battles. In line with MTDP imperatives, we will continue to strengthen and focus the department and indeed others to participate, to prioritize rather, the attainment of outcomes and impact, which are about the lived conditions of the people on the ground. I thank you, Chair.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Ngweba.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Honourable Deputy Minister, for the medium-term plan to succeed in meeting some of the NDP targets and its own targets, we require the state to have the capability to mobilize both public and private investment into the economy. Through the fiscal framework, the government allocated the required financial resources to execute the various strategic plans and annual performance plans. What measures is the minister taking to ensure adequate fiscal allocation to support the medium-term development plan targets, working with the Minister of Finance? Thank you, House Chair.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. We welcome your comments in the form of follow-up, Honourable Ngweba. We agree that mobilization of both public and private sector investment in the economy is critical, and also that it is important to dedicate time to look into the fiscal framework, whether the plan is aligned to the fiscal framework. That is a work that is ongoing, and a thorough engagement between the Department Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, together with the Department of National Treasury. We also note that what produced MTDP in the form of various mahotlas that ensure adequate and exhaustive consultation was also looking into the existing resources and also issues of reprioritization. And to the extent that parties in the GNU agreed on the issues that were canvassed in the MTDP, and based on the original statement of intent and aligning the MTDP with the NDP, it was quite great for us, because the consensus means that it is easy to unlock the resources. So to unlock the resources and ensure that thoroughgoing development in the country takes place. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable K.A. Christie.
Chair, given that the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation is mandated to monitor and evaluate all spheres of government and every level of government, a massive task, would the Deputy Minister kindly tell us which government departments the Minister has prioritized for monitoring and evaluation?
Honourable Deputy Minister.
And thank you very much, Honourable Christie. We do appreciate that we exist as a department in government among other existing departments. So collaboration, cooperation and coordination of other government departments is important. First of all, we regard ourselves like today's cluster at the very center of governance. The Department of Cooperative Governance, the Department of public administration, and other departments at any given stage to facilitate cooperation and a common understanding in terms of development of the program. Also, as I have indicated, that DDM is key and critical. That will have to ensure that we honestly able to identify policy gaps where they exist and undermine the lack of clarity in terms of the plan that must be implemented. I believe this plan is going to be one of the most popularized plans to ensure that there is no ambiguity about it and there is clarity in terms of implementation and monitoring and evaluating the plan. So we'll evaluate areas around economic transformation, we'll look into areas on governance, we'll look into the ongoing social transformation agenda, and all the issues that are highlighted in terms of how government is coordinated and structured. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable M.N. Paulson.
Thank you, House Chair. Deputy Minister, would you consider the National Development Plan as a dismal failure and 20 wasted years of African National Congress government policy confusion, given that there is no hope of achieving its set objectives by 2030, which is in 5 years' time? You've mentioned now that you've been looking at everything, but we'd like to know, would you be able to achieve your objectives by 2030? If not, what would you say, Deputy Minister, are the hindrances to eliminating poverty and inequality in South Africa, and how will the objectives of the NDP be implemented in the next 5 years?
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
The National Development Plan has been is a very important plan. The current implementation of MTDP is also a very ambitious program to ensure that there is agency with regard to realizing the goals highlighted in the NDP. I would disagree with you that it is a dismal failure. It is an important plan to bring coherence and systematic way of responding to developmental goals, especially on a country which arises out of the very painful past, colonial and apartheid structural economy entrenched. So we need to avoid populist adventurism when we deal with issues of development. Rather, we need to measure development and understand the state of affairs that prevails with us. So we really need to use a plan, evidence-based plan to ensure that our country succeed. Long-term plan has helped many of our countries, which are our peers, that we look up to succeed in terms of their advancing their development project. I thank you, Chair.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Sauls.
Thank you so much, Honourable Chair. Honourable Minister, in light of your department's successes and achievements as mentioned, how has it specifically advanced employment equity initiatives to ensure inclusion of colored African, Indian African, white female African, and Khoisan African people, aligning with the goals outlined in the National Development Plan Vision 2030? Thank you.
Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Saul. We premise the development of MTDP among the following principles. First and foremost, we spelled out that it's incumbent upon government departments to consult various stakeholders in the formulation of MTDP and also in terms of the framework for monitoring the implementation of the MTDP. So we first operate under the assumption that thoroughgoing consultation did take place in formulating the MTDP amongst various sectors of government. So specific areas of focus that Honourable Saul has highlighted are important in terms of areas that we will continue to do frontline monitoring and also evaluate. There are specific areas that we have set programs to evaluate in the agricultural sector, We'll also look into the areas of demographics, look into how government has rolled out the program of land restitution and various areas of work that is urgent in terms of ensuring that we open economic opportunities to these various sectors, because we do not subscribe to a view that attending to them should be more welfarist, but it should be more around attending to critical areas of opening opportunities for economy that they participate meaningfully on. So this is work in progress, but that is going to be much more firmer based on the agreed MTDP. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Honourable members, question number 243 has been asked by the Honourable L.W. Mashlatsi to the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. The question is about the measures being taken to address the financial state of municipalities like Maluti, Apofong, Mangaung, and the city of Tshwane, and what is being done to ensure that new administrations have a clean slate that will enable them to prioritize service delivery. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, to the question asked by Honourable Mahlatsi. Indeed, the three municipalities have difficulties in managing their financial affairs. The Maluti Apofong, an engagement has been done between the Auditor General and Treasury to assist the municipality to develop a strategy to reduce the UIF and W to ensure that those matters are cleaned in this term in preparation for the next term. The MPEC is playing its role in investigating all the monies that were not used correctly. A revenue enhancement strategy has been adopted in the Maluti Apofong in order to enhance their finances. Again, a budget funding plan is being implemented in order to bail out the municipality from financial difficulties. When it comes to Mangaung, an intervention for financial recovery plan has also been instituted, where the Auditor General is on board in assisting the municipality in addressing the audit queries with the intention of getting a good audit outcome come the end of this financial year. In this municipality also, the MPEC is actively involved in assisting the municipalities on investigations and also making recommendations going forward. When it comes to Tshwane municipality, the Premier of the province of Gauteng was instrumental in the establishment of the Provincial Coordinating Committee composing of COGTA, National, Provincial, and SALCA in assisting the municipality to come up with a turnaround plan in addressing their finances. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mashlatsi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, given the persistent financial crisis in municipalities like Maluti Apofong and Mangaung, often characterized by the high level of debt, irregular expenditure, and poor revenue collection, what specific mechanisms have been put into place to strengthen financial accountability, curb corruption, and improve revenue generation? Kanimambo.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. As I have indicated when I was responding to the question, the revenue enhancement strategy in these municipalities has been instituted and we are working together with Treasury at a national and provincial level in order to assist these municipalities even to close all the gaps in terms of the corrupt activities. Matters raised by the Auditor General have been referred to the MPEC, and investigations are done correctly, and we will be following the recommendations of the MPEC to ensure that they are brought back to council and implemented in order to send a message that corrupt activities should not be allowed to prevail. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Sheila Beskagni.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Poor financial management resulting in poor audit outcomes and dysfunctional municipalities is not a new trend in local government. Honourable Minister, how will you ensure that practices such as wasteful expenditure and nearly non-consequence management, like in these municipalities, will be key in a reviewed white paper to ensure a culture of financial management accountability in local government that will contribute to a growing economy and job creation? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Honourable Chair, as the reference was made to the reviewed white paper, which has been launched by COGTAM, we will be inviting contributions across political parties and also individuals in terms of how to ensure that if we reimagine municipalities beyond 2026 and 2031, what kind of municipalities must be in place. We are going to concentrate in terms of ensuring that the recruitment of people, especially in the finance department and key department that ensures good governance. It could be competent municipal manager, corporate services, including the finance department. If you have right people in those departments, you will be able to deal with deficiencies in as far as the financial management is concerned. But it's a great opportunity as we review the white paper to receive ideas and contribution that will make municipalities fit for purpose, even the people who are being recruited. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Reddy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really do not believe the Minister knows exactly what he's talking about. And I think this comes from the fact that he doesn't attend the committee meetings along with many other GNU ministers. So by not attending these meetings, they won't understand what's really happening on the ground. He made a statement that there is great progress, and I assume that he's referring to audit outcomes. The fact of the matter is that in terms of the audit outcomes released by the Auditor General in 2021-22, only 66 municipalities achieved a clean audit. And thereafter, it's now sitting at 34. And the Minister says it's a great progress, it's something we must celebrate. I think, Minister, you need to go back and get your facts in order. Now, coming back to the question, it's simply this. How many meetings of the committee have you attended? Because it's becoming a norm in the 9 wasted months that ministers, including public works like today, they do not attend meetings because they love this idea of blue lights and all this that accompanies them. The fact of the matter is citizens are crying out for service delivery.
Your time
so
is
you
now
must tell us how
expired.
many of the meetings he's attended. Thank you.
Honourable members, may I just remind you that the follow-up question must relate directly to the primary question. The Honourable Minister.
Honourable Chair, the Honourable Member doesn't know what he's talking about. For this reason, 66 municipalities do not refer to anything clean audit or whatever audit. It has to do with municipalities moving from dysfunctional municipalities. So now the honorable member must get the information correct before he makes a misinformed statement. When it comes to municipal issues, I'm well informed. It's an area I spend a lot of time on it. I can't give an incorrect answer on it. Coming to attending meetings of the portfolio, the chairperson of the portfolio can speak better than the honorable member. I want to end there.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Wessels.
Thank you, Honourable House Chairperson. Honourable Minister, with regards to Mangaung, the financial intervention was first started in 2019. That's almost 6 years ago. In 2022, National Treasury took it over in terms of Section 1397 of the Constitution. Yet, less than a week ago, Mangaung had no funds for diesel to do any waste removal in the city and had to take diesel from the fire brigade, which placed a huge risk on the city as diesel is removed from an emergency service to do refuse removal. Is the minister in contact with National Treasury to actually see to the implementation of this financial recovery plan, as it is not working if you look at service delivery in the city? I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Indeed, the municipality has been under administration for quite a long time. That is what I referred to at the beginning when we got into office last year. We made an audit of all municipalities that has been under administration, looking one, what are the recommendations made, the reports made by the ministerial representatives? Are those reports being followed? Two, what are the competencies of people who are deployed as ministerial representatives? If you deploy a person who is not competent, there will be no turnaround plan. I do accept that there was a challenge in the municipality in terms of diesel. Really, many municipalities towards the end of the financial year, they do have such hiccups which are not condoned in a way, but it's not as bad as a municipality unable to pay the salaries, unable to pay the service providers, a municipality which is at a standstill. We are confident the municipality is going to turn the corner very soon.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Members, we will now proceed to the next question, which is question number 230. That has been asked by the Honourable A.M. Van Zyl to the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. The question is asking whether it is the department's mandate to oversee municipal public accounts committees, how functional are these committees in investigating irregular expenditure in distressed municipalities, and whether each municipality has established a municipal public accounts committee. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, to the question of Honourable Van Zyl. Yes, indeed. It is the function of COGTA to ensure that all municipalities establish the MPECs which are responsible for strengthening the oversight over the functionality of the council, and also to make investigations in terms of the irregularities raised by the Auditor General. I can confirm that all municipalities in South Africa have functional MPEG. The thing that we are doing now, we are monitoring, especially municipalities with adverse and disclaimer audit outcomes, that what are the recommendations made by MPEG to council and how far are they being implemented, and where criminal charges must be opened, whether that is done or not. And lastly, there is a forum at a national level for all MPEGs which oversee the performance and impact of the MPEG committees in our country.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable A.M. van Zyl.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, I have heard what you have said about the Maluti Upper Fong municipality and that the MPAC is investigating the irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, which is at a staggering 7.8 billion rand. On our visit earlier this month, the AG has confirmed that MPAC is in fact not investigating the UIFW expenditure. Given its record of failure in the past, what makes you think you've done enough to empower the MPAC to make a real difference? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. The Honourable Member is referring to information of a month ago. The MPAC in the municipality have documented reports which will date a month before. So those are the reports I was referring to, which we are monitoring in terms of the implementation. And of course, if it is something which the member or a team discovered a month ago, it's a matter that we can still make a follow-up in terms of the previous year's audit outcome. What has the MPAC done in order to ensure that all those responsible for any irregularity are being taken into consequence management? It's a commitment, that one, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Sompa Masiu.
Thanks, House Chair. Minister, municipalities, among other things, have been unable to attract the right skills, leading to governance challenges, including mainly financial governance issues. Are there plans by the department to help municipalities attract high-level skills? And if there are any collaboration the department is planning or implementing with different stakeholders, such as university, training institutions, and professional bodies? I thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Honourable Chair, I'm not sure whether it's really a supplementary question, that one, to MPAC. The MPAC has nothing to do with the recruitment of staff. It has to do with the oversight of our councillors. But I can express that when it comes to assisting municipalities in attracting suitably qualified personnel, the ministry from time to time give guidelines and also ensure that regulations are done which allows the municipalities to give a better salary as an attraction to suitably qualified employees to deep rural or remote areas. But as I've said, the question is not necessarily a supplementary to the MPAC main question.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Reddy.
Honourable Minister, the reality on the ground is that municipal governance across South Africa is in a state of collapse. The AG's 2023 report revealed that only 38 out of 257 municipalities received clean audits, while billions in UIFW expenditure continue unchecked. The impacts committees, which are meant to provide oversight, have become rubber stamping bodies, failing to hold corrupt officials accountable. Given this dire state of affairs, what concrete steps has your department taken to address these systemic governance failures? And can you point to any measurable improvements in the functionality of impacts in municipalities in distress? You mentioned that all impacts are functioning, but the reality on the ground is that citizens' cry for service delivery from municipalities is growing louder and louder every day. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Indeed, it is a truth that there is an outcry, not in all municipalities in terms of service delivery, but in a considerable number of municipalities. And that is not the function of the MPEC. It is a function of the leadership of the council, which is led by the mayor, deputy mayor, speaker, and councillors, to ensure that services are rendered to the people in a particular municipality. In terms of the functionality, the question was asking, are MPEC functional and exist in all municipalities? On record, I'm placing that every municipality has a functional municipality. Once the MPEC present a report to council, it is the responsibility of the council to execute that report, not the MPEC. Once the MPEC has done the investigation, submitted a report, it becomes squarely resting on the shoulders of the council to implement the consequence management to identify culprits. Thank you, Chair.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Beasley.
Minister, greetings. One of the key problems with municipalities is the lack of oversight and consequence management. The reason for the lack of consequence management is that key players and leaders are compromised and have their own skeletons in the cupboard. What steps will the minister put in to ensure there is effective consequence and oversight in municipalities?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. As I said even previously, a consequence management should become culture in our municipalities, provincial government, and national government level. Indeed, we are observing and monitoring the reports that are being presented by various MPEC to see to it that consequence management are introduced or not. But I do want to share, Honourable Chairperson, that as COPTA, we are working very well with provincial level to hold municipalities that appoint unsuitable candidates. We have several cases which are before the courts of law where a provincial government and national COPTA, we want to reverse the appointment made by some of the municipalities by simply employing people, one, who are not competent or compliant in terms of the advert and who might have been appointed on a friendly basis, and we are holding those municipalities to accountability.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. We now move on to question number 245, which has been asked by the Honourable Mtetwa to the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. The question is asking whether the government will introduce legislation to give traditional kings decision-making powers in local government, and why are kings' lands classified as unbanked in the banking system? The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, to the question raised by Honourable Mtetwa. The Constitution allows municipalities to govern wall to wall every space of land in South Africa. So now, the question of kings having a say is a constitutional matter which falls outside the mandate of COGTA. But I do want to share with the honorable member that as we speak, TICLA, which could not pass the test of the Constitutional Court, is under review. It's an opportunity to raise any suggestion in terms of powers and functions of traditional leaders, including kings, but at the end of the day, this will need to be effected in terms of the Constitution. And secondly, the review of the white paper is another opportunity to express such views so that when the reviewed paper comes before this House, it can get another direction. In terms of bankability of land, that belongs to another department, which is the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development. We have referred that section to the relevant minister to give an appropriate answer. Thank you, Chair.
First supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mtetwa.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. It is against that background then that the kings are not recognized in the Constitution as people who have decision-making on their land. Then in 1905, just after the Anglo-Boer War in 1899 until 1902, a study was commissioned to identify the tribe who occupied which towns. But from 1913, all those tribes were removed and the names of those towns were changed to white settler names. Is there any reason why you can't use the newly enacted Expropriation Act to reverse our tribal lands? Thank you. This you can find in the native tribes of Transvaal, native tribes of Natal, and native tribes of Cape Colony. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Mtetwa, for the follow-up question. Nyambos, the constitutional matter cannot be overturned by an act. An act is operating within the parameters of the Constitution. What I can encourage the honourable member is that the issue which he is pursuing, to get a proper attention, it must be addressed at a level of effecting change in the Constitution in order to give the powers desired for our kings in our country. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mkhize.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Honourable Minister, kings in South Africa are recognized in the Constitution to play a role as symbols of the unity of our people. Kings played a very significant role in leading the wars of resistance against colonial aggression. Kings are highly respected for their role as custodians of cultures, traditions, customs of our people, thus playing a role in nation building and social cohesion as symbols of the diversity of our cultural and linguistic communities as protected by our Constitution. They also have a role to play as champions of development, peace, and tolerance. In view of the various challenges experienced by the different kingships that led to the formation of the King's Forum, can the Minister briefly outline these challenges, the role of the King's Forum, and also indicate what steps has the Minister taken to address these challenges faced by the Kings? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. The question raised by Honourable Mkhize. The ministry last year firstly held a meet and greet with all the majesties in South Africa, which was followed by a 3-day engagement, which for the first time resulted to the establishment of the Forum of the South Africa's Majesties, whose chairperson is King Mabena II. The kings raised a variety of issues, which include resources and support, and we had an opportunity to engage the finance minister on those issues. And we are hopeful that those issues, once the budget has been endorsed by this House, we will be able to respond through the allocation that will be given to COGTA. Our engagement with the National House of Traditional and Khoisan leaders has made COGTA to have a special engagement even with the Khoi and San people in South Africa, where they raised also a number of issues. As we all know, the painful history of the Khoi and San in South Africa, and our engagement came up with a list of items which we are dedicated to champion through the bill that is being reviewed, TICLA, in order for the Khoi and San to have an official recognition in South Africa. Our engagement with
Honourable
the
Minister, your time has expired.
Thank you, Honourable Chair.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mabena.
Thank you very much. Sithokoze Bulawayo. Sithokoze na ngombereko enwenza ku Traditional Affairs. Kodwana nasi enye into khona i-land administration engaphasi kwamakhosi is marked by a lot of chaos, making it extremely challenging to unlock the land's potential for the benefit of its inhabitants. The haphazard issuance of permission to occupy without a land administration system often results in multiple recipients claiming the same piece of land, often leading to prolonged and unnecessary conflict which further hampers the commercial entity's ability to provide capital to leverage the economic benefits of the land for the much needed rural development purposes. As you've just also responded, perhaps with the review of the TKLA and also a collaboration with the Land Reform and Rural Development, what measures can be put in place to make sure that the land administration system, in collaboration with the Department of Traditional Affairs,
Your time has
can
expired,
actually
Honourable Member.
Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. I kindly take the guidance. As I said, all honourable members of this House and the public on issues that affect our traditional leaders, we have an opportunity as we are reviewing the local government white paper, as we are dealing with TICLA, which must eventually come before this House, that we raise these issues and make recommendations, and we are open to engage whatever progressive view that will address issues affecting our traditional leaders. Indeed, we are working together with Minister Nyonso of Land Reform, Honourable Minister Nyonso of Land Reform and Rural Development in addressing land issues. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Buthelezi.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I will take it on behalf of Nkosi Buthelezi.
Proceed.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Considering that traditional leaders' safety has been compromised in the past, what provision will be there in the bill to ensure the safety of Amakosi? I thank you very much.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, to the question raised by Honourable Stolle on behalf of Honourable Buthelezi. the matter of the safety of our traditional leaders, amakhosi, izinduna, is a matter which even the president of our country raised as a critical matter. This matter has been presented before the minister, the Honorable Mtunu, as a matter which must receive a proper attention. So many of Amakosi and Izinduna have been killed mercilessly, and there is no doubt that the government must come on board in providing security. We are following this matter with the Minister, the Honorable Mtunu, to speedily provide necessary security. It is beyond COCTA to make provision, but we are constantly raising it and following it up. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Question 267 has been asked by the Honourable Chotetsi to the Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. The question is about measures in place to address the stigma surrounding teenage pregnancy in South Africa. The Honourable Minister.
Honourable House Chairperson, thank you, Honourable Chotetsi, for the question. Although the child and teenage pregnancy crisis is a global phenomenon, the rates in sub-Saharan Africa are simply staggering. Here at home, a research team at VETS and UCT described pregnancy among girl children as a savage indictment of South African society, noting that each of these pregnancies is clear evidence of risky, coerced, and unprotected sex, and in many cases of statutory rape. In our 5-year strategic plan, we will be taking forward quite a number of initiatives, including prioritizing prevention of teenage pregnancy as well as underage pregnancy. We will be mainstreaming a comprehensive multi-sectoral strategy to promote prevention in consultation with our sister departments such as basic education, health, as well as social development. We will also launch an all-year back-to-school campaign for those young women who have been forced out of school due to stigma perpetrated by family members, fellow learners, and sometimes even teachers. We will work with the Department of Basic Education, school governing bodies, civil society, and related stakeholders in this regard. In accordance with the recommendations of the Commission for Gender Equality, our campaigns will pay even more attention to the drivers of transactional relationships where older men, sometimes teachers, prey on schoolgirls from vulnerable communities. Thank you very much, Chair.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Chotetsi.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Now, Minister, understanding the makeup of the South African society, that it's made up of a number of stakeholders, what kind of work have you put in place to bring them together in order to partner with them in the quest of resolving this fundamental problem faced by young women of South Africa? And in particular, how much, to which extent actually have you brought together the religious and as well as traditional leaders in that quest? Thank you very much.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. Indeed, it is correct. The mandate to transform, empower, and transition vulnerable groups into catalysts for socio-economic change and impact requires a whole of government and whole of society approach. In conceptualizing our interventions, we have not only consulted and rallied our sister departments, but we have also brought on board industry associations, including universities, civil society organizations, and private sector partners. Of course, we have also held consultative engagements with development partners such as UNESCO, such as UNDP, both of which are keen to work with us. This is important given our limited resources. Traditional leaders are particularly crucial in all spheres of our departmental work. For example, in 2024, we implemented an anti-gender-based violence men's march with the Eco Goodman Foundation and hundreds of traditional leaders in KZN, we intend to replicate this effort in all 9 provinces because we believe that gender-based violence and teenage pregnancies are associated. Thank you very much.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Khanile.
Honourable Minister, thank you so much for your response. In the response that you just gave to us now, you have acknowledged that the teenage pregnancy, in most instances, it is associated with statutory rape. The question that I have is, what is the plan your department have in place to ensure that it empowers parents, community leaders, and various stakeholders to report cases of statutory rape and ensure that these cases are prosecuted? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much for the follow-up question. Indeed, the first thing is for us to educate our communities about statutory rape or any rape for that matter that happens in our communities. Because statutory rape will actually mean that there was an agreement between whoever was sleeping with the underage child. But if a man is enforcing himself into that child, that is still rape. So first thing is for us to teach communities about these issues, but also to talk to the police and as well as the justice system, that when this happens, these cases should not be withdrawn, not even by family members, particularly when it is statutory rape or any rape for that matter. And this will therefore make this set an example to the would-be perpetrators of statutory rape. Indeed, we are engaging police, we are engaging even the justice system. We addressed women judges last year, and among the issues that we raised was the issue of teenage pregnancy, including gender-based violence, and it receiving attention in our courts. Thank you very much.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Managa.
Ndodibuwa House Chair, Minister, teenage mothers in villages and townships are frustrated. They're lacking support and they often face stigma. How are you collaborating with schools, communities, and healthcare providers across the length and breadth of South Africa to create supportive environment to these teenage mothers? What specific resources are being allocated to prevent further stigmatization? Despite the measures you put in place, Minister, teenage pregnancy is still existing. What are you doing to prevent further occurrences of teenage pregnancy in our society? Thank you so much.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you again for the question. We already have indicated that we will be launching a campaign which is focusing on young women and children who gave birth to children and they are sitting at home and not going back to school. That will be a back to school campaign so that teachers are able to accept those children back to school. That is the first thing. The second thing is that a child who gives birth to a teenager who gives birth to a child can still fall pregnant again after giving birth, and therefore will again ensure that the Department of Health provide health education to both those children, but also ensure that health services are available to them, including family planning and contraceptives to those who can be sexually active. But of course, for those who are young and therefore below the 16 years of age, we definitely, as I've indicated, to ensure that the law takes its course. Because for as long as these cases do not end in court and the perpetrators are not brought to book, then the men will continue to impregnate and rape children. So this is quite a matter that it requires the department, but other departments as well, including the society, including the leadership in our societies, churches, traditional leaders, and all of us here in Parliament. Thank you very much.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable James.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. In 2024, our president said, leave no one behind, and Tintswalo is the girl child that represents this democracy. In the community I hail from, there are many young girls who has dropped out of school pregnant because there's no community-based support systems in place. What are we doing as a country to ensure that we move these learners that are at risk from conventional schooling to interim schooling that takes care of where they are at in terms of supporting them with their babies? How are we ensuring that at-risk youth remains connected to education and creating special pockets? Because I don't see how we can place these teen mothers back into conventional schooling systems. There are many countries across in America, many states in America that has schools that specifically deals with teen mothers where they keep them connected and in school and they don't drop out when they are 1 month pregnant. So do we have those kind of programs in place and those types of schools? Can we start looking at those types of schools to better the chances of education of these youngsters? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. It may sound correct, but it actually can mean discriminating against those young mothers. We would want to bring them to schools so that they can actually bahlangane nabanye abantwana. But also, as a matter of fact, the campaign that I spoke about is to ensure that those children do go back to school so that they can actually complete their education. In South Africa, we have the child grant. It actually also focuses it assists those young children who give birth teenagers who give birth to children and probably cannot support them. And the child grant is there. But to have separate schools for teenagers who have given birth to children, I don't think we have reached that stage as South Africa. I don't believe that maybe it is something that we'll want to encourage because it can actually mean that we are stigmatizing them because communities will actually be saying there they are in that school because they are in that school that is known to be a school for children that have given birth. But when they mix with others and they go to normal schools, then they will be able. What is important for us is to actually ensure that we educate our teachers, our young children, and parents to accept them back at school. Thank you very much.
The next question is question number 220 and has been asked by the Honourable S. Lonzi to the Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. The question is about the relevant details of any new and or ongoing programs that the Minister has implemented since 3 July 2024, which focus on the empowerment of women, youth and persons with disabilities. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson, and thank you, Honourable Lozi, for the question. We have partnered with the CSIR to create a value chain-driven agricultural cooperative model that leverages CSIR's IP and advanced technologies, including precision agriculture, to equip and prepare women farmers for market success. Our department and Transnet Properties are currently finalizing an MOU that will give effect to a commitment by Transnet Properties to lease land, properties, workshops, factories, and other facilities to our 3 constituencies. Also, our Solar Mama initiatives will be scaled up and strengthened to reach more women, particularly unemployed graduates. Our NYDA, we also intend to reimagine, restructure, and resource the NYDA and its programming into a national youth development agency that is not only fit for purpose, but truly representative and capable of responding to the national youth question. I have requested Women's Economic Assembly and SAWIT to support the department's leverage the recently signed Public Procurement Act to empower women-owned businesses. We welcome the President's announcement on the 20 billion a year transformation fund. We will make sure that a just share of this empowerment fund goes to women, youth, and persons with disabilities. And lastly, our recently launched South African National Service Institute will cultivate the productive capabilities of the NEET youth into thousands of AI code
AI, coding, and robotic instructors at schools, cybersecurity startups, market-oriented smallholder producers, and industry drones pilot, to mention a few. And of course, 5 SANSI pilots have been developed and are ready for implementation once funds are made available. Thank you very much, Chair.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Lonzi.
No, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to the Minister. I think we're quite happy with the response. And perhaps, Minister, part of the reason why I put the date of July is because around that time you would have presented a budget vote speech. And the problem I had with that speech is that you made reference to the presidential employment stimulus. And there seems to be a misunderstanding of what the presidential employment stimulus sought to achieve when the president was implementing it, because it keeps coming up across all departments, across all ministries. It's a short-term solution. It's not going to resolve the structural problems of young people in South Africa as they relate to unemployment. So would you agree with me, Minister, and I'm happy you didn't make mention of it now, that we must stop talking about the presidential employment stimulus as a structural solution for the unemployment challenges of young people in South Africa. If you are not going to close the skills gap, you are not going to make access to a quality education, and you are not going to grow the economy, then we can't keep talking about these assistant teacher jobs and these assistant teacher health jobs, which many of them have lost, by the way. A lot of the people who are employed by the so-called presidential stimulus, employment stimulus, are no longer employed. So will you agree with me, Minister, that we must put this behind us and find much more sustainable solutions in resolving the issues of young people in South Africa, in particular as it relates to unemployment? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much for the follow-up question. Indeed, the presidential stimulus did deliver, and it continues to do so. Indeed, it is an intervention, of course, but that is why we have got a department that has to ensure that young people, in fact, we do have sustainable interventions in dealing with the unemployment of young people. This is the responsibility of all departments. However, the government of South Africa decided to have a department that will ensure the integration of all the interventions that are there. I fully agree. Yes, we do require sustainable solutions to the issue of youth unemployment, particularly the niche group, that is the group, the youth that is neither at school, on training or employed. It is important that we find a solution. And the questions that, in fact, the answer that I provided, it actually aims at addressing the problem of the niche group, but of course others as well. If you look at the National Youth Service in other countries, it has actually delivered on addressing the issue of unemployment. But of course, the infrastructure projects that were announced by the President, they too will assist in addressing the issue of youth unemployment. I agree also the issue of training of young people, of skilling young people, looking at the recent and the current work that we require in South Africa. We do need to retrain our young people. Thank you very much.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Spies.
Minister, as this portfolio committee embarks on its first oversight visit in KZN, I'd like to kindly request your commitment to accompany us. This visit is crucial in assessing the implementation, sustainability and impact of budgeted programs, particularly on women, youth and persons with disabilities. By accompanying the Portfolio Committee on this oversight visit, you will have the opportunity to witness firsthand the progress made, challenges encountered and the real-life impact of these programs on the ground. Your participation will not only demonstrate your commitment to transparency and accountability, but also provide valuable insights that can inform future policy decisions and identifying areas for improvement and optimization. Minister, will you commit to joining us on this oversight or future oversight visits? I thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. I do visit these institutions almost every day, every week. I interact with these sectors that we are leading as a department. So definitely, if I was able, I could, but if not, I may not. Also, I think it is important that we allow the portfolio committee to do its work as the legislature, oversighting on what we are doing. But I just want to mention that I interact with these sectors almost every day. I interact with young people in the form of organizations or associations as individuals. I interact with persons with disabilities. I interact with women organizations, civil society, and everyone of such sectors. So it's definitely not like I'm not aware of what is happening on the ground. We know for sure what is happening on the ground, and we know what needs to be done because we interact with them. But of course, we appreciate the work that the portfolio committee does when it visits these areas, and probably give report to ourselves and in parliament and take the recommendations they make seriously in trying to implement them. Thank you very much.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Gaza.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Honourable Minister, can you please provide a detailed breakdown in terms of specific programs, initiatives, and budget allocation within the department's youth development strategy that clearly targets and benefits boy children and young men, including those from low-income backgrounds, rural areas, and those with disabilities. Additionally to that, Honourable Minister, what specific metrics and indicators will be used to measure the success and impact of these initiatives, and how will they be monitored, evaluated to ensure equitable outcomes? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Even if it is a new question, but let me say this. We are definitely waiting for budget to be approved by Parliament. Once that happens, we'll then allocate it in our strat plan and annual performance plan. For now, we still do not have a new budget because we are at the end of the financial year. I can therefore not refer to the budget that we are already, we've already used. Coming to a number of projects, I've actually mentioned quite a number of them. As soon as we get the money and of course present to Parliament our strat plan with targets and everything, then we'll be able to then say this is the amount of money that is allocated for this project, and this is the target that we're going to achieve or work towards achieving during the 5 years and during the first year. And that is definitely going to happen as we present to Parliament our strat plan, our annual performance plan, and our budget, which will be approved by this Parliament. For now, it has not been approved. Thank you very much.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Freeman.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I'll take the question for Honourable Freeman. Minister, our country has one of the highest unemployment rates, and among the unemployed are women, youth, and persons with disabilities. If there are programs in place to ensure that jobs are available, can you provide examples of successful outcomes or challenges faced by these programs since the implementation, and what adjustments have been made to improve the impact? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. There are quite a number of projects, but let me just refer to what the NYD has achieved so far from the 1st of April 2024. 1,550 youth and youth-owned enterprises have been supported with financial interventions. 23,449 youth have been supported with non-financial business development interventions. 3,917 jobs created and sustained through supporting entrepreneurs and enterprises. 37,928 young people capacitated with skills to enter the job market, and 22,621 young people were placed in jobs, and 15,568 young people secured paid service opportunities through their participation in the revitalized National Youth Service programs. The President signed into law the Public Procurement Act, which set aside 40% for women, 30% for young people, and 7% for persons with disabilities. This is the legislation that we are going to ensure that it gets implemented, and we are participating in the drafting of regulations by the National Treasury. And therefore, indeed, this will also form part of the many projects, some of which I mentioned when I was actually giving the answer to the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. We now move to question number 263, which has been asked by the Honourable Apiri to the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. The question is about how the department will measure the work and performance of the ministers in the 7th administration in line with the service level agreements they have signed with the President to ensure that they are equal to the task. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and welcome the question by Honourable Apiri. The President will enter into new agreements with ministers based on the medium-term development framework 2025 to 2029. The progress in the implementation of the performance agreements will be measured using data obtained via MTDP monitoring system. The MTDP monitoring system will be consolidated information regarding the progress in the implementation of the MTDP across different spheres of government and other relevant data sources such as Stats SA and as well as HSRC. I thank you, Chair.
We now go to the first supplementary question, and I've been informed that the Honourable Dunja will take charge of the first question on behalf of the Honourable Apiri in accordance with Rule 137.10A. I now recognise the Honourable Dunja.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Minister, performance agreements of the President and ministers are crucial as they enable national executive members to have a focus of attaining the key objectives of the policy mandate of their departments. What consequence management measures can the President take in the circumstances of non-performance? And what measures will be used to assess whether the minister's performance requires interventions or not? I thank you.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Dunja, for the follow-up question. The appointment and performance management of ministers is the prerogative of the President, and also our role as DPME is to fulfill the responsibilities as required, that of playing a great supportive role, a support to the President. Also, I'm aware that the Director General and the Cabinet Secretariat in the Presidency is seized with the matter. We do consider this as important matter, as we believe what gets done is what gets measured. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Bergman.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. We'd just like to wish Honourable Apiri a speedy recovery. Deputy Minister, months into the GNU, it is clear that certain ministers are hell-bent on destructing and destroying the cabinet. Whether it is their egos or selfishness that is getting in the way, how can the service level agreements ensure that ministers are working for the masses of South Africans and not for the dream of South Africa becoming a province of Zimbabwe? Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I also want to echo the sentiments of Mr. Honourable Bergman to wish a speedy recovery to Honourable Apiri. However, we want to insist that the outstanding work regarding this very important area of work is and has been related to the finalization of the crucial areas of focus around the MTDP. So we believe that the more we make progress in implementing the MTDP, more focus will be around issues on problems of progress regarding the medium-term strategy that we have to focus our attention at. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Letlape.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Minister, what are the key performance indicators for ministers and deputy ministers, and how are performance appraisals conducted and used in instances of cabinet reshuffles? And do you agree with the reasoning that any minister or deputy minister who does not perform or who refuses to implement laws of this country must be fired by the President?
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much for the follow-up. We do agree that decisions that are taken by Cabinet constitute the program of government, and that there is overall commitment that all those who are appointed by the President shall accordingly act in a manner consistent with the decisions that Cabinet takes. And we also agree that different areas, specific areas around a framework implementation will be spelled out. We have committed as a department to go on the second phase of discussing the MTDP in a relevant committee of accountability, where we'll spell out also even looking into specific areas with regard to annual performances of the departments, which will constitute an important area of work which various departments will be measured in accordance with their performance. So we believe that all many other areas that are identified as objectives, particularly that centers around three main objectives in the 7th administration, will be given focus. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Korbe.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honourable Minister, since the formation of the GNU, we have seen a rise of what we call Instagram ministers, ministers who run around on social media posting work and videos and pictures supposedly of the work that they've done, while on the ground we see a starkly different story. I mean, a case in point would be a minister in this very house who used AI for his work, or ministers who just do not attend portfolio committee meetings. Now, Minister, in the spirit of accountability and in line with your service performance, service level agreements, how often will performance reviews be done so that South Africans are not lied to by these ministers, and will it be accessible to the ordinary South African?
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, for the follow-up. We do take note that government communication, government communication information system is crucial in terms of communicating government position. So we will strengthen participation of various government departments to make use of an existing agency of government to communicate. We say this because communication has to cut across just a few area centers, but it has got to involve serious community-based communication platforms that exist. We do say it once again as a reminder. We want to make a point that we will not say much on this matter, as it is matter that is in work in progress, that the details of it will be unveiled, and that when the President, the matter is receiving attention of the President, as it is his prerogative to appoint and also performance manage. So it is an important area of work, and we do note the public interest around this issue. So we'll give attention on this matter as time goes by. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Question 252 has been asked by the Honourable Maimane to the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. The question is about steps that will be taken to resolve internal government disputes and ensure the integrity of the budget process and economic stability. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and also acknowledge the question by Honorable Maimane. The statement of intent of Government of National Unity establishes a dispute resolution mechanism to deal with disputes or disagreements that arise. That is, a clearinghouse has been established to support the process, and it is chaired by the Deputy President as a leader of government business. Disagreements on the national budget were referred to this process for engagement, and ultimately Cabinet agreed on the way forward towards the tabling of the national budget. However, the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation will continue to engage with the National Treasury to ensure that key priorities are considered as part of an evidence-based budget process. Future incidents or disagreements will continue to be dealt with through mechanisms agreed above. The budget process will continue to be managed in line with Public Finance Management Act as a primary legislation that regulates this process. Final deliberations on the national budget will also continue to be held through Cabinet, who approve the budget before it is tabled. Parliament also has a key role to play through the Money Bills Amendment Procedure and Related Matters Act once the national budget is being deliberated as part of the parliamentary process. I thank you, Deputy Speaker.
First supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Maimane.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I think, Deputy Minister, it's fair enough to make this statement up front. What took place on the postponement of the budget was the undermining of Parliament itself and should never ever happen again. The Money Bills Act, which you correctly cite, empowers this House to deliberate on the budget, to make the amendments, to make the recommendations. So, given that there has been a postponement and you correctly cite the statement of intent, I want to understand where the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation has understood what in fact is going to happen in the event where there isn't consensus on the budget, as the law makes it such that you can now only spend 45% of the department's budget. Have you done any scenario planning as to what would happen in that event? And secondly, in guiding the budget, what priorities does the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation use to be able to make the tough budgetary choices in negotiating the politics within the GNU? Because certainly the statement of intent is not costed for, it's not budgeted for, it doesn't sit within the framework of Parliament, yet actual planning must be able to do so. Has the department done that? Is there a scenario plan that ensures that if the budget isn't passed, there are contingency measures that you will take? I thank you, Minister.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and on the follow-up of Honourable Maimane. There is work underway to discuss the alignment and also look into the fiscal policy, the alignment and the fiscal policy in relation to MTDP, to look into whether the budget is fully aligned, to look into the issues around budget prioritization as an ongoing work in terms of implementation of the MTDP. Equally important is the work of different financing institutions. To cite an example, public investment, or also look into private investment role of PIC or DBSA in achieving the objectives of MTDP. Because it is a very imperative that MTDP has to succeed around the issues of industrial policy and fiscal policy, how we are capitalizing. For instance, looking into stability of the state-owned enterprises and their contribution to growth of the economy. So we'll strengthen economic model so that we ease policy choices to support greater growth of the economy. Those are some of the issues that our Department of DPME will continuously engage with Treasury. So robust engagement within government and national departments is taking place so that we ensure that government expenditure aligns with the national goals and we foster accountability via evidence-based decision-making. These are the issues that will preoccupy our attention. There are a number of other positive issues equally whilst we are dealing with these issues. Recently, there was EU that made bold pronouncement with regard to working with South Africa. The hosting of the G20 that is underway, where all the G20 countries continue to
Deputy
show
Minister, your
evidence
time has
on the
expired.
issues that we are dealing with as a country. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Christie.
Deputy Speaker, to the Deputy Minister, the postponement of the 19th of February budget speech was democracy in action. The largest party in the coalition appeared not to register that it has only 40% of the vote and seats in the House. And I'm not certain that the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation could do anything about other parties in the GNU refusing to agree to a VAT increase to balance the budget. Is the Minister and Deputy Minister aware that they will need the backing and vote of other political parties in the GNU to pass a bill or support a report in our particular portfolio committee? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. We really do take the budget as an instrument to address the priorities of the people very serious. It was an unfortunate situation, although the honourable member seems to be in a celebratory mood, but we do take this very serious. But we are we are anchored on democracy, and we had to allow a process where a new situation had to be dealt with. So we are fully conscious of the role that Parliament plays in terms of facilitating a common understanding on the priorities that should receive attention. So we believe that parties will act accordingly to demonstrate maturity and ensure that the needs and the interests of the people of South Africa are put first. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Montano.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. The failure to table the budget and the reasons advanced for it was not a democracy in action. It could only be described as a national disgrace. The actual budget that was presented was, in fact, a damn squib, a missed opportunity to place our country on a new path of sustainable growth and development. The conditions for the implementation, Deputy Minister, of policy do not exist as we see today. We are in a world defined by economic nationalism and global shifts. The ANC has no power compared to what it had 5 years ago. The GNU itself is fractured, policy and institutionally weak. And there's no agreement on the budget, which you said is a principal instrument to give effect to economic and social policy. Now, without these conditions, in these unfavorable conditions, why should South Africans believe that this medium-term development plan will take the country out of economic stagnation and mass
Honourable
impoverishment
Montana,
that we see today?
your time has expired. Before I give an opportunity to the Honourable Deputy Minister, can we request that as Chief Whips of political parties, we assist the Parliament staff in helping with the noise that is coming from that side? Because it is not staff members that are on the other side. It is honourable members who are making the noise. Can we assist, please, in making sure that the noise is kept at a low, because we can't now hear anything that is happening in the House because of the noise that is coming from that other side. I saw the hand of Honourable Manyi.
I'm covered, Chair. I was going to raise the same issue that is becoming unbearable. That
Please,
noise.
Honourable Whips, can we get assistance, please? Honorable Maiman.
Thank you so much, Speaker. I appreciate the noise from the other side. May I ask you to assist us in making sure that the Deputy Minister does in fact answer the questions? Because at this point in time, there's a lot of information that's been shared, but it's not specific to the questions. If I can ask if you could really intervene on that issue. Thank you.
We will give the opportunity to the Deputy Minister to respond to the question that was asked by Honorable Montana.
Thank you very much, House Chair. We do agree that the not passing the budget on the date in which it was scheduled was most unfortunate. And that situation really, we had to contend with that situation and deal with the situation that prevailed, given the complexity of the issues that we had to be processed. And we also are confident that the Minister of Finance and the President managed the challenges that arose from the budget processes. And today we have a budget that is tabled before the House. So we also agree that the mechanism to deal with deadlock breaking are bolstered, that we had to cross through these issues. We also have to note that the current socio-economic conditions in the country does also open room for populism. There are those who venture in public platform, things that some of the incidents that occur which delay our resolution in terms of the very fundamental questions before us should be attended to. So it is important that we note the urgency to respond to the current socio-economic conditions, conditions to deal with these questions as you reflected, Honorable Montana. We'll do everything possible as a responsible government to ensure that we resolve and also we facilitate that there is common understanding of the task at hand so that we cross through this important area of our work. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable NZ Buthelezi.
Thank you so much, Honorable House Chairperson. I will take this question on behalf of Honorable NZ Buthelezi. Honorable Deputy Minister, how does the department plan to engage with key stakeholders, including investors, business leaders, and international partners, to reassure them about the stability and predictability of South Africa's economic environment? Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair and Honorable Khadebe on the follow-up. South Africa will use various multilateral forums that exist, and it continue to use such platforms through the Minister of International Relations, through first and foremost of the Office of the President and the Deputy President, in galvanizing a common understanding on the MTDP and also what it takes to mobilize both public and private sector resources, both human and capital, to ensure that our work is cut out, to ensure that there's professionalization of the public service in our country. We are able to can increase accountability with regard to the implementation. So there are still existing platforms and forums that South Africa will use. Our department, as indicated, will strengthen and embolden measures to coordinate and ensure that there's a common vision. There's one plan in the country, and it is understood as such. To the extent also that we will even unveil the plan to the various sectors of our society, particularly even the youth, so that there is a common understanding and a measure of the success of this plan. We believe that the success of this plan will not be most importantly a feature in boardrooms, but to the extent that qualitatively the lives of the people changes for the better. So we remain committed to ensure that this plan succeeds, nothing else. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Question number 266 has been asked by the Honorable T.M. Chauke to the Minister of Women, Youth and People and Persons with Disabilities. The question is about measures the department is taking to ensure that the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide programs are well funded and accessible to all communities, particularly in remote areas, given to the prevalence and patriarchy and marginalization of women in rural areas. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Thank you, Honorable Chauke, for the question. Our National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide recognizes the voice and authority of traditional leaders as potential catalysts in recalibrating transformative and community-driven responses to gender-based violence and femicide. We are already working with traditional leaders to foster equitable gender relations while still maintaining respect for cultural identity and social cohesion. For instance, in 2024, we partnered with the Goodman Foundation, a civil society organization, and His Majesty King Mrs. Weltini to implement a successful men's march against gender-based violence and femicide. We are engaging development partners such as UNDP and private sector partners to resource and expand this and other anti-gender-based violence and femicide initiatives aimed at rallying men and boys as allies across all 9 provinces. We intend to expand the work of the department's rapid response teams that work to identify and support families of victims of gender-based violence and femicide. We will also be supporting COGTA's efforts to launch the Queen's Forum later this month. We welcome the President's SONA commitment to ensure that our National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide will be adequately resourced to mobilize all sectors of society behind the implementation of the Human Science Research Council prevalence studies recommendations. I thank you.
The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Shabangu.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Minister, the follow-up question, the supplementary question is on the commitment by national traditional and Khoisan leaders to establish a men's parliament in order to fight GBVF and end cultural practices that discriminate against women. How far are these plans and what measures does the department have in place to ensure that the National Council of GBVF board, once established, will work together with the National House of Traditional and Khoisan leaders to strengthen the fight against GBVF? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Shabangu. The mandate of the National House of Traditional and Khoisan leaders plays a very crucial role in our efforts to prevent gender-based violence and femicide and to rebuild a social cohesion. The National House is a partner in the National Men's Parliament Initiative, which aims to engage men in addressing gender-based violence and femicide and promoting positive and social behavioral change. Once established, the National Council on Gender-Based Violence will work together with the House of Traditional and Khoisan leaders. As you will know, the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide has been enacted and promulgated, providing the legal framework for its operations. And therefore, the Act recognizes the importance of cultivating a formal relationship between the Council and House of Traditional and Khoisan leaders. To this end, for instance, Section 6 of the Act mandates representation from the Department of COGTA and Traditional Affairs on the that is National Council on Gender-Based Violence Board, ensuring a formal channel of collaboration with the National House of Traditional and Khoisan leaders. So yes, we'll be working with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Kanyile.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Minister, various reports presented in the Portfolio Committee reflect that a bigger portion of women, youth, and persons with disabilities and Commission on Gender Equity budget is channeled into paying salaries instead of being channeled into addressing the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide on the ground. What plan do you have in place to ensure that when the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide is established, an adequate budget will be channeled into fighting gender-based violence and femicide? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much for the question, Honorable Kanyile. As a matter of fact, our staff establishment is not adequate to can perform the mandate of the department. Of course, when you have them, then they must be paid. However, as I indicated in my answer, the President, in his State of the Nation address, did indicate the fact that we must establish the council and that it must be resourced. And that we have actually costed it, so we know how much it will cost, and we have submitted to the National Treasury. We are hoping that as the Portfolio Committee is recruiting members of the board, and we are going to get the funds that are necessary for the council to be established as quickly as possible. It is urgent that we establish the council so that it can start doing its mandate as it is in terms of the legislation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable L.F. Tito.
Thanks, House Chairperson. Minister, given the fact that patriarchal supremacy is institutionalized to the extent of it almost becoming a daily norm in South Africa, where femicide cases go unaccounted for because deaths that occur as an outcome of femicide attack are not accurately documented, what are the specific programs that you as the minister have initiated to address the problem of gender-based violence in South Africa, particularly in the villages where most of these cases go unreported? Thanks.
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Tito, for the question. I think my question covered quite a number of initiatives that we're putting in place. The very one, which is the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, which will be a statutory body with a statutory mandate, is one other initiative that is important. But we also have rapid response teams on the ground that are able to identify families that are potential to have gender-based violence, but also that are able to intervene and educate those families to open cases. We do have those in our courts. We do have legislations like Domestic Violence Act, which is being implemented by the police, and we're actually monitoring as to whether that act is actually being monitored. But of course, we do have Tutuzela centers that aim to remove those women who are subjected to gender-based violence to areas such as Tutuzela centers. And of course, it is important that we make the boy child aware of the respect that they must accord girl children, but of course girl children as well. We already have the research that was released by Human Science and Research Council that actually confirms what you are saying, Honorable Member. So yes, we do have the problem of gender-based violence. We do have measures that we are putting in place to ensure that we fight against it, and it will call on all of us to do our part to ensure that gender-based violence is the thing of the past in South Africa and in other parts of the world. Thank you very much. But maybe just to say that we have also identified this as one of the priorities of the Women Empowerment Working Group of the G20. Thank you very much.
The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable J.S. Peterson.
Thank you so much, Chair. Minister, while we wait for the funds and budget to be secured for the National Council, have you lobbied more social workers in rural areas? If not, why not? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister.
Can I request that she repeats the question? The noise is just...
Honorable Peterson, can you repeat your question, please? Maybe also get closer to the mic.
Honorable Minister, while we wait for the funds and budget to be secured for the National Council, have you lobbied more social workers in rural areas? If not, why not? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister.
Indeed, when it comes to the issue of gender-based violence, we are also working together with the Department of Social Development that avails social workers to intervene by providing mental health care, but also by providing counseling to victims of gender-based violence. The question that you are asking, member, is very critical because it talks to the trauma that gets experienced by victims of gender-based violence, and that trauma that requires intervention by social workers, but also by other counselors. And indeed, we therefore are working together with those. But like I also indicated, we are engaging other stakeholders to ensure that we do get some sponsorship, if that is the right word to say, so that we are able to run more of the campaigns to deal with the issue of gender-based violence, preventing it from happening, but intervening well on time to victims of gender-based violence, but also preventing femicide, where women are exposed to gender-based violence, by removing them from those very abusive relationships. Because the study confirmed that many of partners who are current or former are actually victimizing women and literally killing them. And we therefore have that in the study that was conducted by Human Science and Research Council, and we are trying to intervene and implement the recommendations of the study. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We move to question number 250, has been asked by the Honorable M. Khwekana to the Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. The question is about plans that the National Youth Development Agency developed to address the unique challenges of young persons living with disabilities who are seeking employment and vocational training, and strategies that are in place to monitor and report on the progress of youth with disabilities in achieving their educational and vocational goals. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair, and thank you, Honorable Khwekane, for the question. Since 2021, the National Youth Development Agency, NYDA, has developed and implemented a disability strategy aimed at supporting young people with disabilities through its branches nationwide. The strategy links youth with disabilities to NYDA and government services and strives to ensure their full participation in all NYDA programs. To enhance accessibility, the agency has trained its staff, improved facilities, and integrated disability inclusion into its service delivery targets. Since April 2024, 1,803 youth with disabilities have benefited from NYDA programs, including 549 in non-financial business development, 13 in the grant program, 973 trained for job market, 114 in the National Youth Service, 149 placed in job opportunities. More recently, the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities welcomed the Department of Higher Education and Training's launch of program phase 1 of the National Skills Fund Disability Program. And this transformative initiative, with a budget, seeks to empower 10,211 persons with disabilities across South Africa through tailored training programs, stipends, and specialized tools. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Khwekana.
Thank you, House Chair. I will take the supplementary question on behalf of Honorable Khwekana.
Proceed, Honorable Member.
Minister, as much as we appreciate the efforts taken to deal with creation of employment for disabled people, we will want a detailed response to indicate how demographically is these particular interventions are reaching out, because we are more concerned as MK Party of people with disability in underserviced areas of our rural provinces in Eastern Cape, in the KZN and Northwest. We like to have information on how much of these statistics are covering our people in those areas. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister.
Like I've actually indicated on the figures themselves, it is estimated that in South Africa we have plus minus 7 million persons with disabilities. Some are at school, others at tertiary institutions. They benefit, for instance, from the NSPAS. Some are employed, others, of course, are at home and therefore benefiting from the grant. But of course, when it comes to NYDA itself, with the budget that it has and the strategy that is disability strategy that it has developed, it is trying to reach out to as many young, persons with disabilities as it is possible. But of course, with limited resources, like I've indicated, we can provide information on these figures to say from these figures how many are from this province and from another province. But of course, they use the facilities of the NYDA that are found in many of the municipalities. And persons with disabilities also do not only benefit from the budget that we refer to, but other resources and other programs that NYDA is actually implementing in its offices. So yes, indeed, we can provide more information on the numbers per province. Thank you.
The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Spies.
Thank you, Minister, for your response. Minister, I'd like to delve deeper into the National Youth Development Agency's efforts to promote inclusive economic participation for youth with disabilities. To your knowledge, has the NYDA conducted research, planning, or any groundwork to develop programs and employment opportunities in conjunction with employers and businesses catering to youth with disabilities across various sectors such as manufacturing, agriculture, education, and technology?
The Honorable Minister.
If there is one area that has not been covered properly in terms of research, but also in terms of the correct statistics, is the issue of disability in South Africa. We have, as a department, either than the NYDA itself, approached SA to actually conduct a research and proper statistics on the prevalence of disability in South Africa. They have actually agreed with us. However, they do need budget. They actually told us that they will require something like 10 million rand in order for them to actually get the correct statistics on disability in South Africa. That's the first one. The second issue is that the numbers that we refer to, the 7 million that we're talking about, it does not include disability between the ages of birth and 5 years, because at that level and that age, there is no one who's actually gathering statistics on disability. And this is the matter that we are engaging the Department of Health to see if it is possible and feasible for them to gather information on the prevalence of disability. Yes, of course, the projects that NYDA is implementing and executing are targeting the persons with disabilities, and the strategy is aiming at empowering persons with disabilities, but of course not enough, because we don't have concrete statistics on the extent and of prevalence of disability in South Africa. We estimate it, but we would wish to have correct statistics of the extent of disability in South Africa. So the 7 million, sometimes they talk about 3.1 million of persons with disabilities in South Africa. We would wish to have the correct statistics so that we know exactly as to where the persons with disabilities are and the interventions that we're making and the impact that they are actually making as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable S. Lonzi. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable S. Lonzi from the EFF. Do we pass? Then the last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable L.L. van der Merwe. It seems Honorable Tlangwini?
Thanks, House Chair. I think, House Chair, you are maybe perhaps on a wrong question because Honorable Lonzi already asked his question and he didn't have a follow-up on the question that you are calling now. Just for correction, can you please just check with the table staff so that it doesn't look like Honorable Lonzi AWOL or anything? He did ask his question already.
No, I am on question 250. And here on my question, it says that the third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Lonzi.
He is AWOL.
On 250. I'm not sure if we're in the same page, because when I read the question, I did say that we're on question 250.
House Chair, can you please just check whether, because we don't have that as a follow-up. Thank you. Can you just check
no,
with
it's
the
fine.
question staff?
We will then pass. The last supplementary question, are we also passing on that one? I didn't hear any responses from the IFP. IFP?
Also AWOL.
Okay. Honorable members, Honorable Minister, I don't think you will have any follow-up questions to come. Honorable members, as it was said when we started that the other ministers were not available to answer the questions from the House, then it concludes the questions for today, but it doesn't conclude the time that was allocated for the questions. Then we will go straight to the order paper, and I will request that the Secretary will read the first order of the day.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Communications and Digital Technologies on Oversight visit to State Information Technology Agency, SITA, on 11 December 2024.
I now invite the Honorable Sangoni, but I see she has invited herself first. Proceed, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair, honorable members, fellow South Africans. It is my pleasure to present to this House our report as the Portfolio Committee on Communications and Digital Technologies on the oversight visit to the State Information Technology Agency, SITA, on Wednesday, the 11th of December 2024. The centrality and indeed importance of SITA to our nation's governance cannot be overstated. E-government is an imperative, and in line with growing international best practice, the digital transformation of government is key to improving efficiencies, improving public service delivery, and ensuring greater transparency and accessibility of our citizens to an increasingly interconnected world. As such, SITA occupies the most critical of roles in our national life. A strong and well-run SITA is a precondition for the implementation of government's digital transformation strategy. Contrary-wise, institutional and other weaknesses at SITA, if not overcome, have the very real potential of harming the attainment of our vision of a digitally connected and empowered society. The urgent oversight visit was necessitated by persistent concerns about the entity's efficacy and stability. The legacy report of the Sixth Parliament's Comms Committee captured in detail the challenges at SITA, referring to them as recurring malfeasance. So the purpose of the oversight visit was to interrogate what were clearly significant governance and executive management challenges at SITA, including amongst them instability and infighting within the board of directors and the executive management team, allegations of mismanagement, maladministration, and corruption at the agency. The committee had also noted reports of an increasingly frustrated client base, which spoke to wide dissatisfaction with the quality of services provided by SITA. Some of these challenges were legacy systems that were running on outdated ICT infrastructure, cyber security breaches, and poor network connectivity at critical service points. Weaknesses and failures at SITA impact on the ability of government as a whole to provide services to the people of South Africa. The committee was also grossly disturbed by media reports of SITA's involvement in what has now been accepted improper procurement processes that led to the allegedly fraudulent award of a tender worth 1.2 billion rand to Blue Networks Consortium to implement the Western Cape Education Department's maintenance and expansion of school connectivity in schools in the Western Cape. Honourable members, as a committee, we note and we welcome the Public Service Commission investigation into SITA that was initiated by Minister Malatsi as a result of the committee's oversight visit. We have also noted the investigation by the Office of the Public Protector into appointment practices within the agency. It is our view as the committee that these investigations can only complement the work of the committee in ensuring adequate and robust oversight over SITA. To this end, some of the key recommendations we have made in the report on instability of governance and executive management, that the minister must urgently appoint a new board of directors at SITA, ensuring it has candidates with the necessary skills, they are fit for purpose, and have the experience and the competencies before the end of this first term. In order to deal with encroachment of the board into operational and even supply chain matters within the entity, the minister must enforce clear delineation of roles and responsibilities and appraise the committee during the beginning of the second term on corrective measures to eliminate operationalization of the board. On allegations of malfeasance, maladministration, and corruption, the committee has recommended that the minister must refer the Klip-Decker-Hofmeyer report on the 1.2 billion rand tender to the Special Investigating Unit for a thorough investigation. The committee has also resolved to institute an inquiry into SITA. With regards to ICT infrastructure and system deficiencies, SITA must develop a migration strategy to address and eliminate legacy systems that have posed challenges. Honourable members, SITA remains a vital state entity crucial for an effective ICT ecosystem. We cannot allow this agency to fail or be collapsed by stealth. The challenges we have identified reflect a critical need for decisive and ethical leadership and urgent institutional reforms to address governance, leadership, service delivery, and operational efficiencies. Therefore, Honourable Chairperson, I move that this report be adopted. Thank you.
Honourable Reddy, do you have a point of order?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, we seem to have made a mistake with the questions. Question 250 was not sent to us as political parties on today's list. Also, question 248, which was a question to the Minister of Planning and Monitoring, who was present in the House. That question has not been asked, and we did not get a response from the Minister. Insofar as the question 250 is concerned, the Deputy Minister in the Presidency was in the House. So can you please explain why those questions? We were provided a list of questions as well as supplementaries, and we prepared for those. We didn't get the chance to ask these.
Thank you, Honorable Reddy. I think you have seen that there were many questions in the presidency, but here on the question paper is these questions that were deferred to the next oral questions with the questions of public service and administration. So that is why we moved then to 250, because that's what it was on my schedule. It says we move to 250, and it is the question that I read before I even proceeded to giving the minister an opportunity to speak. I read out the question that we are on question number 250, and I read the question and gave an opportunity to the minister. There were two supplementary questions that were asked by Honorable Khwekan from yourself. So I'm not sure when you say you did not get the question, because
I'm referring to 248. It was a
let's not
question
be
to the
derailed
Minister
by
of
people who are
Planning and
sleeping
Monitoring.
throughout the proceedings.
248.
No. Honorable Reddy was
that is
sleeping.
not the Minister of Planning and Monitoring, it's the Minister in the Presidency.
Honorable Reddy was sleeping.
Those are two
throughout.
different
Let him not derail us.
portfolios. Can we please move on, because now we have read the first order of the day, and I want to proceed with this one because we are done with the questions. It's not from Planning and Monitoring.
He was sleeping.
I will now recognize political parties wishing to. Oh, Honorable Kangwini.
Thank you very much, House Chair. I think just House Chair, maybe perhaps next time a better way of communication just needs to happen, because on 250, yes, we agree the question was on the order paper, but the EFF didn't get an opportunity. To the opportunity schedule that we get. So that must just be corrected from our part, not our part, the table staff's part. Thank you.
Okay, we'll definitely correct that. I'm not sure why it was then put that the third supplementary question will be from the EFF. But from this question paper, we did get the 250, and it's what I read out, and the MK did ask, they got an opportunity, they asked that. So we'll fix that with the table. The only response I didn't get is from the IFP, if maybe they did get an opportunity or not, but we'll be able then to fix those errors when we go along. We'll fix it in the table. I will then go back to the current order, which is, I will now recognize the political parties wishing to make a declaration. The usual times for the declaration of votes will apply. The DA.
Thank you, House Chair. The State Information Technology Agency, or SITA, epitomizes the third reality of many state-owned enterprises. Potential to be of immense benefit to the country, but falling short of this potential. The visit by the Portfolio Committee to the SITA offices was necessitated by a growing list of crises which had a negative impact on the operations and image of the organization. These included allegations of procurement irregularities, including corruption, instability at the governance and executive levels, maladministration, as well as reports of disgruntlement amongst staff. Furthermore, many government departments have sought to acquire the services of external service providers because SITA has been unable to adequately meet their needs. This robs SITA of much needed income. It also compromises the security of government IT systems and data, which are now exposed to or controlled by external parties. Chair, just this morning, I had a conversation with an MEC for infrastructure and, from one of the provinces, and he expressed immense frustration at SITA and stated that the agency had led to financial losses for his department. Besides the above, SITA has structural problems that prevent it from operating optimally, such as the following: high turnover of leadership, outdated technology and infrastructure that is not suited to the organization's current needs, misalignment in technologies and systems used by different government departments, a pricing model that renders SITA expensive to clients and uncompetitive, cumbersome supply chain management processes that frustrate SITA itself as well as its clients, inability to enforce payment by government departments that utilize SITA's services and then fail to pay. The DA commends the Minister for his swift action in instituting a commission of inquiry into the operations of SITA to be conducted by the Public Service Commission. We look forward to the Portfolio Committee receiving the terms of reference of this inquiry. We further note the appointment of an interim board to oversee the organization on processes to appoint a permanent board underway, as well as the appointment of an acting managing director. These moves will help to bring stability in leadership and allow the organization to focus on delivering on its mandate. We call upon the Minister to improve the functioning and sustainability of the organization by speedily implementing the following proposals: prioritizing the filling up of vacancies at the board and executive levels, set up an internal multidisciplinary task team to focus on providing quality services to SITA's most important clients, such as the South African Police Services and the Departments of Home Affairs and Justice and Constitutional Development. Find means to compel defaulting departments to pay debts owed to SITA. Review the mandate of SITA and whether a change of status from a Schedule 3A to a Schedule 2 state-owned company would not help improve its competitiveness and procurement efficiencies. Conduct an audit among staff to identify gaps and harness strengths of current talent. And finally, embark on a project or on a program to upgrade SITA's IT systems and capabilities so as to be relevant to current and future needs. In this way, Madam Chair, SITA can become a catalyst to and leader in the country's digital transformation. The DA supports the report. Thank you.
Thank you. The MK.
Thank you, Chairperson and members of the Progressive Caucus. I rise here on behalf of the MK Party to provide reflections on the SITA oversight. I was there. What we observed is not just administrative mismanagement, but a total governance failure enabled by a minister who is totally out of his depth and unwilling to take responsibility for the crisis unfolding at SITA. Yes, indeed, he inherited a mess, but he upgraded it into a hot mess. The MK Party really wanted to support this report, sorry couscous, but its total silence on the complicity of ministers, past and present, has caused the MK Party to reject the recommendations as insincere. Ministers are not angels. The minister was advised to share the requirements as contained in the adverts so that this committee could assist in ensuring that the board appointments are comprised of ethical leaders with governance experience, so that you don't have a situation where you have technocrats overseeing other technocrats. Yet this advice fell on deaf ears. This would have resolved the issue of a board riddled with conflicts of interest and incompetence and political infighting. The MK Party makes it clear the minister, including his predecessors, cannot escape accountability. Every act of malfeasance happening within SITA today is as a result of ministerial level failure in terms of taking decisive leadership. SITA's board, as observed during the oversight, is at war with itself. Members appointed by previous ministers do not get along with those appointed by subsequent ministers, creating factions that have got absolutely nothing to do with service delivery and everything to do with political power struggles and eating arrangements. Instead of focusing on governance and oversight, board members are busy advancing their own interests, engaging in procurement issues, and failing to ensure that SITA operates efficiently. It is unacceptable that non-executive directors who are supposed to provide independent oversight are also heads of various departments, effectively reporting to themselves. The term non-executive director is not understood at SITA. The competence required at ministerial level, with greatest of respect, has to go more than just being a mere spokesperson. It has to be somebody that understands the sector very well. It's not an issue of a battle of ideas in SITA. It's a battle of technology. So if you're not in that space, then you are in the wrong place. Dedicated professionals who want to serve the country are being suffocated by poor leadership and factional battles. A government agency cannot function when its own employees have lost confidence in its leadership. The minister and his predecessors failure to act even when warned, their inability to resolve board-level conflicts and lack of agency in addressing procurement irregularities leave much to be desired. The MK party calls for an urgent intervention to ensure that this department is led by someone who understands the critical role of ICT in government service. This is not a spokesperson staff. This is for ITC gurus like Sihle Ngubane, people with BSc computer science, not politics. Let me conclude by saying, until you change the minister, that thing is not going to fly. Amen.
Thank you, the EFF.
Thank you, House Chair. Greetings to the officials, commissars and fighters of the EFF led by the capable Commander-in-Chief Julius Malema. House Chairperson, the Economic Freedom Fighters supports the oversight report, particularly because we have consistently raised the alarm regarding the gross negligence, mismanagement, and corruption occurring in the State Information Technology Agency, or SITA. It was on the 18th of November 2024 when the EFF issued a statement concerning the 1.2 billion rand tender for the company called Blue Networks Consortium to provide IT-related services for schools in the Western Cape. In our condemnation, we highlighted the compromised members at the SITA board that were not only being part of the irregular awarding of this tender, but also highlighted the role of corrupt officials within the DA-led Western Cape government, who concluded with board members who were ultimately suspended. We must state it categorically that subsequent restatement of suspended board members who were part of irregular awarding of the 1.2 billion rand tender is proof that they exist under political protection of the DA. The EFF is therefore in full support of the SIU investigation on this matter, and the scope of this investigation must not be limited to SITA board. It must also be to the officials and members of the Western Cape government. SITA remains the instrument of ensuring that there is sufficient supply of quality ICT infrastructure in spaces of public, particularly schools, libraries, and in our communities. The complaints about poor provision of network services must be regarded as a violation of the constitutional right of access to information that matters or that must be remedied. Of critical concerns, Chair, is that there is an outcry by constituencies of outdated infrastructure coming from SITA that impacts on service delivery. South Africa cannot be constant site of delayed provision of infrastructure and provision of upgrades. Our ICT infrastructure must meet global standards, and the board of SITA must comply with the fiduciary duty it has and be rid of corruption. Thank you, Chair. The EFF supports the report.
Thank you, the IFP.
Honorable House Chair, the IP welcomed the committee recommendations aimed at restoring governance, operation efficiency, and accountability at SITA. For too long, challenges at SITA have hindered the effective delivery of critical IT services to government departments, compromising service delivery to the people of South Africa. We support measures to ensure a clear separation of powers between the board and executives, and the urgent need to modernize outdated legacy system. Transparency, accountability, and competence must be at the heart of SITA's turnaround strategy. We further call for decisive action to address the legal disputes, procurement and inefficiency, and governance failures. SITA must be an enabler of digital transformation. The IP will continue to push for vigorous oversight and decisive intervention to ensure that SITA fulfills its core mandate in line with the National Development Plan. In consideration of issues we have raised, the IP accepts the report. I thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you. The PI.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. We want to begin by officially, on behalf of our President, our Deputy President, and the entire Patriotic Alliance, extend our sincere condolences to the highly capable chairperson of this esteemed committee for the loss of a loved one. We celebrate the leadership and the prompt action of the multi-party committee to conduct an urgent oversight to the State Information Technology Agency. This legislative exercise resulted in concerns over multiple governance and operational challenges within SITA. We note the official conclusion of the Cliff Decker-Hofmeyer forensic investigation report on the alleged 1.2 billion rand tender fraud related to the Western Cape Education Department. He asserts in section 17.3.2, open quote, there was no evidence of undue influence over or benefit from the tender based on the interest of birders and employees of SITA and the Western Cape government. Close quote. Because SITA's operations affect service delivery by departments like Home Affairs and SAPS, directly responsible to realize our Abahambe cause and the high levels of crime respectively, we are confident that the Minister will execute with military precision the recommendations from the committee to show South Africa and the opposition that indeed the GNU is working. And Federan, the PA, supports this report. Salute.
Thank you. The FF Plus.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. A visit to the premises of SITA and Centurion brings one under the impression of an institution at the cutting edge of technology and governance 30 years ago. But today, it's an hollowed-out institution where race-based policies in terms of employment was regarded as more important than the actual ability to do the work. And for that reason, we see that ever more departments prefer not to work with SITA. Volgens ons inligting is sowel die departement van arbeid as die kantoor van die hoofregter nie meer bereid om met die staatse inligtingstegnologie agentskap saam te werk nie, omdat die wanfunksionaliteit van hierdie instansie hulle werk negatief beïnvloed. En dan is daar die geïntegreerde finansiële bestuurstelsel vir staatsdepartemente wat na mislukte pogings deur SITA om dit aan te bied, nou deur Oracle hanteer word, 'n Amerikaanse maatskappy wat dit teen 'n geweldige groot bedrag doen, en daarmee is SITA eintlik 'n bodemlose put vir geld wat nie waarde bied vir Suid-Afrika nie. Hierdie instelling wat eintlik die hart van die Suid-Afrikaanse staatsdiens kan wees en die hart van die staat behoort te wees, is eintlik niks anders as 'n leë dop nie. Baie dankie.
Dankie. Action SA.
Honourable House Chair, today we address the Portfolio Committee on Communications Digital Technologies report on its oversight visit to State Information Technology Agency. As Action SA, we support the recommendations outlined in this report, which exposes the deep-rooted challenges within an entity critical to our public service. Now, the governance failures, executive instability, mismanagement, and corruption have severely compromised SITA's mandate for digital transformation in the public service. A fundamental flaw which was highlighted in this report is the disjointed relationship between the executive management and governance structures. We have board members who are overstepping their roles and interfering in technical process, which has created dysfunction that must be urgently addressed. The consequence of this failure are far-reaching, with multiple government departments reporting substandard service delivery from SITA. As Action SA, we are particularly alarmed by the allegations of irregular procurement, including the fraudulent 1.2 billion tender linked to the Western Cape Education Department. The committee's recommendation that the minister refer the Cliff Decker-Hoffmeyer report to the Special Investigating Unit is a necessary step towards accountability. However, this is just not enough. Decisive action needs to follow. While we support the recommendations, Action SA emphasizes the need for stringent oversight and robust accountability mechanisms to ensure that these recommendations are not just reduced to mere words on paper. The dysfunction at SITA must be met with firm corrective action and not just bureaucratic processes. Therefore, we call for the immediate implementation of these recommendations, enhanced oversight, and the urgent strengthening of supply chain management at SITA. South Africans deserve a public service that functions with integrity and efficiency. We support the report. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you. The ACDP.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, the ACDP has taken note of this report, and whilst we appreciate the report by Cliff Decker and Todd, the question arises whether one needs to refer that report to the Special Investigating Unit for further investigation. If there is substance to that legal report, which is obtained at great cost, then we would suggest that it is sent directly to criminal investigators such as the Hawks for possible prosecution and recovery of ill-gotten gains through the asset forfeiture unit. Sadly, it is often, whilst we appreciate investigations, but the SIU then further investigates matters and then has to refer it to the Hawks for further investigations, which further delays matters. However, that being said, we appreciate the steps that are being taken to address these irregularities, and the ACDP will support this report. I thank you.
Thank you. The UDM. Rise.
We support the work of the committee and the recommendations contained. So we'll not make further declarations. That's the declaration that we wanted to make, that we support the report. Thanks.
Thank you. Bosa.
Thank you, House Chair. We are in support with no declaration.
Thank you. The ATM. Al-Jamar, the NCC, the PIC, the UAT.
No declaration from UAT.
Thank you, Honorable Mahlatsi. Good. The ANC.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening.
Honorable Chair, let me use my allotted time firstly to convey the condolences of the House to Honorable Bodlani, who lost her mother recently, and the chairperson of our portfolio committee, Honorable Diko, who lost her grandmother. May they find strength in this difficult time of grief. Honorable Chair, let me also use my allotted time before I begin to pay tribute and show our solidarity with the people of Palestine, whom, as I speak, are being bombed into smithereens by a nation who is hell-bent to ensure they continue with their genocide. Chairperson.
Honourable member, just take your seat for a moment. There's a point of order. Honourable Swart, why are you rising?
Chairperson, I raise on a point of relevancy. What is the relevance of what the honourable member has said to this? Thank you.
Yeah, it's getting there. Wait.
Thank you.
Wait. Hold yourself, Swart.
Order. Honourable member, please continue with your declaration. I'm quite sure you will get to the substance of the report imminently.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson and fellow South Africans.
Honourable member, my apologies. There's another hand. Honourable Ntlangwini.
Thank you very much, House Chair. The very issue of Palestine is substance, and Palestine will be free. And this House will pass that motion, and no one will tell us where to raise the issue of Palestine on which platform. So if he is not willing to sit and listen and hear us out on the plight of the people of Palestine, there's the door.
Honourable Ntlangwini. Honourable members.
From the river to the sea.
Please do not abuse the platform to now stray off the topic at hand. Honourable Ntlangwini, your intervention was not necessitated. I did not clamp down on the freedom of speech of the member at the platform. I will allow him to continue with the guidance that ultimately, as he has indicated, he must get to the report at hand. Thank you.
Chairperson, I am now compelled to mention...
Honourable member, my apologies. It would seem other members... are you raising a new point of order, honourable members?
No, Chair. I just wanted to bring a protest input that any intervention that speaks to the freedom of the Palestine people is relevant in any platform.
Yeah, no, honourable member, I have ruled on the matter. Please don't abuse the platform. Please continue, honourable member.
Chairperson, let me welcome members of the House to join me in chanting for a free Palestine, a free Palestine, a free Palestine. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Order. Honourable members. Order.
Thank you.
Honourable members. Please be orderly. Honourable member, please continue now with the substance.
The African National Congress is dedicated to developing an economy that benefits all South Africans. As the ANC, we are concentrating our efforts on ensuring that the digital economy fosters economic inclusion by dismantling barriers to information, by expanding access, and by reducing the skill requirements necessary for economic participation. Chairperson, it is against this backdrop that we welcome the report of the oversight visit of to SITA. This report, Honourable Chairperson, serves as a crucial intervention in addressing the systemic challenges facing SITA, a state entity essential to the government in its transformation, in its digital transformation agenda. Honourable Chair, the report provides an overall view of SITA's current conditions. A crucial part of this meeting was to examine the significant governance and executive management challenges faced by SITA. This urgent one-day oversight visit was also necessitated by repeated encounters of poor service delivery issues as reported by various government departments.
Further, Chairperson, the visit could not be postponed because the entire board's term was ending at the end of January, and hence the Portfolio Committee saw it fit to capture the mood, the dynamics, and the ground reality before the board's departure to ensure that an accurate diagnosis was done of the agency. The report notes with concern, Chairperson, the disconnect between SITA's senior management and its governance framework. This misalignment has created an unstable environment characterized by high executive staff turnover to the extent that the vast majority of key executive members do not serve more than 1 year in their roles. This leadership instability, House Chair, has been detrimental in diminishing staff morale and in undermining the agency's capacity to fulfill its mandate. Chairperson, one of the most alarming findings is the alleged corruption and mismanagement, particularly regarding the supply chain management process. The alleged fraudulent 1.2 billion awarded to Blue Network Consortium by the Western Cape Education Department, and the refusal of the Western Cape Educational Department to cancel the contract after being asked by SITA to do so when SITA became aware of the alleged fraudulent tender, serves as a stark reminder of the necessity of greater vigilance, of greater transparency, of more robust accountability of SITA's operations. Chairperson, as the ANC, we unequivocally endorse the recommendation to the Minister to submit this matter to SIU for a much more comprehensive inquiry. Chairperson, the SITA has a workforce of 3,500. This report emphasizes the importance of maintaining a centralized strategy to ensure that the state can benefit from SITA. Chairperson, any attempt to diminish the agency's volume by decentralizing its components would be counterproductive to the success and would greatly impact on the state's capacity to deliver its services. Such action would reduce the volume of activity and work and could lead to the reduction of SITA's workforce, thus further contributing to the high levels of unemployment. Our stance is clear and resolute, and the ANC is firmly opposed to any notion of decentralization. To enhance SITA's ability to effectively meet the needs of its internal customers, whilst also ensuring optimal service delivery and value for the state, it is essential that governance and operational inefficiencies be addressed. SITA must be revitalized to be able to ultimately take on larger scale projects such as the digitization project of the Department of Home Affairs. Chairperson, the ANC acknowledges that the Minister has appointed an interim board, and we caution and urge the Minister to fervently expedite the identification and appointment of a permanent board composed of individuals with exceptional skills and leadership qualities. It is crucial that the new board be empowered to lead the revitalization of SITA, and the ANC supports the report. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. You were quite clear. I now recognize the Honourable the Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Good afternoon to you and honourable members. I move that the report be adopted. Thank you.
Honourable members, the motion is that the report be adopted. Are there any objections? MK?
Thanks, Chairperson. Against being shouted at by Member Subrati, we reject and calling for a division.
Thank you. A division having been called, the bells will be rung for 5 minutes.
Yeah. See, you're supposed to go to court tomorrow.
Mose.
What? Yeah, of course.
Oh, sim, sim.
Andrew?
Honorable Reddy, you want us to go to question?
Something.
Oh, put it off.
Order, honourable members. The Speaker has determined that in accordance with the rules, a manual voting procedure will be used for this division. Firstly, in order to establish a quorum, I would request the table to confirm that we have the requisite number of members physically present in the chamber to take the decisions. Party whips will then be given an opportunity to confirm the number of their members present and indicate if they vote for or against the question. A member who wishes to abstain or vote against their party line may do so by informing the chair. Honourable members, having confirmed that we have the requisite quorum, we will now proceed. The question before the House is whether the report of the Portfolio Committee on Communication and Digital Technologies on oversight visit to the State Information Technology Agency, SITA, on 11 December 2024 should be adopted or not. Voting will now commence. The doors to the chamber will be locked and members will not be allowed to enter until voting is concluded. Whips, please confirm the number of your members present in the chamber and indicate if they vote for or against the question. The table will assist if necessary. Are the party whips ready to record their votes and that of their members? The ANC?
Thank you, Chair. The ANC with 88 members in the House support the report.
Thank you. The DA?
House Chair, the DA with 49 members in the House supports the report.
MK?
The MK, the only opposition in this House, rejects the report with 30 members.
The EFF?
Thank you, Chair. EFF, 28 in the House, all voting in favor.
The IFP?
Thank you, Chair. The IFP with 6 support the report.
PA?
Thank you, Chair. The Patriotic Alliance with 4 voting in favor. Thank you.
The FF Plus?
Die VF Plus met 1 lid stem vir die verslag.
Thank you. The Action SA?
Thank you, House Chair. Action SA with 3 members. We're voting in support of the report.
The ACDP?
ACDP, 1 in the House voting in favor. Thank you.
The UDM? RISE?
Rise, 1 member, and we all support.
BOSA? ATM? Al Jamal? The NCC? The PAC? The UAT?
Chairperson, Palestine will be free. UAT support.
Good. Is there any members that wishes to abstain or vote differently to their party? Thank you. The voting session is now closed. Honourable members, the result of the division is as follows. There were no abstentions. The ayes 182, the noes 30. The question is accordingly agreed to. Honourable members, in connection with the queries raised earlier in this session by the Honourable Ntlangwini and the Honourable Reddy around questions and specifically follow-up questions, I've obtained information. Honourable members are reminded that questions number 236, 264, 257 and 237 asked to the Minister of Public Services stood over, as did questions 248, 226, 231 and 232, all asked to the Minister in the Presidency. Because of the large amount of questions that stood over, a new abridged schedule of supplementary questions was sent to parties, but only at 12 minutes past 12 this afternoon. The respective question whips were all copied. The FF was ultimately allocated a follow-up on the last question in that schedule because of the request for 20 follow-ups. Honourable members, what in future, if this again, of course, occurs, will need to happen is that in addition to that late email circulation, the chief whip of the majority party, I believe, will have to be requested to also alert whips on the chief whips forum group. Thank you. Honourable members, that concludes the business of the day. I request members to stand and wait for the presiding officer and the mace to leave the chamber. Thank you.
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Swart!